Ladies and gentlemen, we've started a bit late. This was going to be a half-hour question and answer session. Now you've heard all the individual KICs present. You have a better idea what they are all doing. And the idea was to have the CEOs of the 3 KICs here to ask any general questions. We don't need to introduce them anymore. We've seen a lot of presentations, so I think we should use this time to really ask the questions from the audience. I can imagine that there are people in the audience who are preparing KICs. I've noticed there are people in the audience who are policymakers or funders who have questions. So can I invite the floor again to ask questions to the 3 KIC CEOs? There's already one. And maybe you can shortly present yourself and for who your question is, or for the 3 in general.
Hello, my name is Gary Logan. I'm from the Department for Business, Innovation and Skills from the UK. And this is a question really for all 3 of the CEOs. I'd just like to ask what intellectual property rights arrangements exist within the 3 KICs. All the KICs have a large number of partners, a fairly large number of co-location centres. Companies will be working with companies across national boundaries. Do the KICs have different IP agreements for individual projects, or do they have model IP agreements that cover all the KIC-related projects? And finally, Diogo mentioned that InnoEnergy retains an equity stake in an SME startup. Is this the same for the other 2 KICs?
So as to your first question, is there an IP arrangement? Yes, there is an IP arrangement. Is that an optimal IP arrangement? No, it is not. So that, for me, is one of the areas where the KIC should play a role. We do not have stakes in startups, as to your second question.
For Climate KIC, we have an overarching IP policy, and then for projects involving a group of partners, we have a consortium agreement, and that has a standard section, a sort of model section, if you like, and then there are alternative sort of cassettes that you can put in, and it's for the group of partners to decide how they want to modify that, the variable section. Once that comes through, then it goes to the KIC's lawyers just to make sure that it's okay and within the policy, because the KIC is has its signature on the consortium agreement as well.
Yes, to complement, for KIC, it took us 9 months to negotiate the IP policy, IP guidelines, IP evaluation, and when it takes so long, we understood that there was value around, because otherwise people would not argue. Of course, it was the industry that was more reticent to those rules, but today, whenever we start to invest the first penny on any project, they have to have signed this. And any proposal needs to have the background listed and explained to understand who brings what. On the equity on the startups, well, I already explained, it's a way that we count one startup, and it's a way to be, I mean, our business model in business creation is mainly the death valley. We're not on the growth phase, because we have not identified any unique selling proposition on the growth phase, except that we want to still keep on to the equity of the company for accompanying that in the growth phase.
A next question in the room, over there.
I am very happy that during this 2 days I saw that this new house of this European Institute of Technology was constructed. It's perfect. It means that occupiers are located, core institutions are working. And my question is for the next future. It means that the door of this nice house are closed, or is it possible to think about the incorporation of new core institutions?
I suggest we start in the middle now with...
Climate KIC has actually, over the last few months, been reviewing its partnership strategy because I think, like my companions on either side, we started with quite a small number of partners and we have been growing. So we had 27 in 2010, 75 in the middle of 2011, and we now have 118. So the partnership strategy is not about closing doors, but is about making sure that we have the right balance. And as you probably know, we have two types of partners. There are core partners who share the risk, but also have a key vote on the strategy and the KIC's finances. And then there are affiliate partners who are real integral members of the community, but don't take the risk and so don't have such a strong voice. We are also talking about whether we should have a category where the institution is not a formal partner, and doesn't have to sign legal agreements, but is nonetheless part of the community, because we have to think hard about just how large we can get and still be manageable. But the doors are not closed. We have 20 core partners at the moment. We haven't set an absolute finite top level, but it would be somewhere between 30, 35. I think if it gets too large, the assembly would become dysfunctional. Although our governance is mainly managed by a governing board, which has equal representatives from academic and non-academic, but is actually only 9 or 10 in size. So the answer is there is a strategy. It's not a total open door, but it's certainly not a closed door.
So it's the same in ICT Labs, so the partnership is growing. However, when you start an organization, controlled growth is always important. So new partners have joined, both at the core level. Actually, we have three-level partnership. It's either you are a core partner, or you are an affiliate partner, or you are an associate partner, and the level of involvement varies and goes down along those partnership lines. And as has been said, this is growing. And next to that, we have collaborators. That's something that Diego already mentioned as well. In order to work with us and to participate in our activities, it's not always needed to be a partner of the KIC. But if you bring specific added value to the table, we can set up a specific relationship for that activity with you. So in that sense, we are open to any collaboration. But of course, the partner has to bring value to the table, because the partner assumes also value brought to the table from our side, and that should be a symmetric relation.
Yes, in our case is the same. We have 29 shareholders, and shareholders have a backpack of obligations and of rights. And then have 100+ activity partners that they contribute to our industrial plan. And there is no connection at all between being a shareholder and how much money you get for your activities. There might be some shareholders today that they get 0 pennies for the activities because they don't request any penny for the activities, but still they have all the obligations. And again, it's about what you want to do. You bring the ones that are most fitted for what you want to do. As I said, we have companies from outside our geographical nodes that are contributing to activities. So it's absolutely an open turf.
Okay, there was a question there.
Well, it does. It's working. Good. I'd like to ask a question, if I could. It's a question for all three of the CEOs. It concerns now. You are now all running masters schemes. Would you tell us something about the experience you've found so far in terms of the response to the competition, and obviously, interestingly, the international component and the degree to which you have criteria in relation to selection? Because it'd be very interesting. I don't think it's commonly known what the demand for these courses has been and what the concluding selection cohorts are in terms of which parts of the world they come from, etc. Thank you.
I should just start with Wim.
So in terms of numbers, we started already in 2011, the first intake, and the numbers were that we offered 220 seats, we had 1,300 applications, and we only awarded 155 seats. Because excellence is again at the core of everything we do. So only 155 of those, ladies and gentlemen, they qualified on what is called the GMAP ranking, that is over 100 points. So we stop at 91 points, whatever it means, 91 out of 100. In 2012, the intake, we have 2,100 applicants for 190 seats. So it's a 1 to 10 candidates per seat. In terms of how again, I go back to the famous HULD Global Challenge. The best sanity check of whether we are doing things right or not is how your students, how the guys that you are selected match against the others worldwide. And for us, it was an extremely good surprise. And I guess that you could talk with some of those guys yesterday, that again, worldwide, they were able to beat others in a very stringent and demanding competition. Again, time will tell whether those are the game changers or not, but so far, so good.
Okay. Yes, I mean, similarly, it's very competitive. We've done it in two different ways. So the key component for our masters is to come on the journey. And the first 2 years, we actually selected students onto the master's program by highly competitive criteria. And then from those, we selected those who would come on the KIC journey. So it was in 2 steps. Going forwards, we won't be doing that. We will be taking them sort of full on to the master's programs, and there's a new master's program specifically in innovation, which is a new KIC course. We also still have the journey for those that we select off existing master's programs. And in addition to that, students from all over the world can apply to come on the journey as a freestanding course. We run it additionally for those. There is certainly a very high proportion from, for example, if you take one university running a program, there's a high proportion of students from across the whole of Europe. If you look at the freestanding journey, about 50% come from outside Europe. And it's a very effective way of sort of promulgating EIT and KIC culture.
What we did for the master school is that we actually start building a complete new homogeneous master school with more than 20 universities, where we have a central office that is running that master school, and we have our own director of that master school. It took us about a year to negotiate all the details with all the universities, where the money section was one of the most warming session. But we are there, and that means that we are now running recruitment, and we will start on the 1st of September with this master school. We want to gradually build it up. Our original aim was to get around 200 students, 50% from Europe and 50% from outside Europe. We will probably end up something between 120, 140. The 50% outside Europe, no problem. the 50% inside Europe is a problem for two reasons. One reason is the brand. The brand is not well established. Actually, three reasons. The brand is not well established. That's also true for outside Europe, by the way. The second reason is that what you see is that we're charging for our school. So non-Europeans pay 8,000 euros and Europeans pay 3,000 euros. Students don't like to be charged, so that's really a challenge to overcome that. And the third thing is that mobility for Europeans is still a big issue. So Europeans tend to go for local solutions, at least the large part of the students still. And that is something we are working on. So we signed with all the universities a contract, and the contract shows the learning outcomes, the selection criteria. Also, if we centrally select students, they are forced to accept a placement in one of them, and we can play around also with the placement. The students start 1 year in one university, then go to a second one. They all get the same E&I modules that are implemented in the various universities. So that has been taking place in 2011 and the first half of this year to be ready in September. And yeah, finally, of course, there is the financial regulation between the support we give to the universities for integrating the innovation and entrepreneurial modules into their curricula. We have given them 2 years to really define this in their university as a separate ICT Labs program. So some universities did it already, immediately from the start. Some of them run it as a sub-program in an existing program because they have to deal with local accreditation of the programs. That is good. So we gave them some time for that, but then we want our own clear, defined school and not something that is just piggybacking on things that are going on anyway. Because we really want a change. And our partner universities want that as well. So they use that all, and that's what Hanu said. They also use it, and you already see that the way we do this process and so on, and this culture change, that they also use it in their universities as a kind of example how they can change in other faculties similar education programs.
If I could just add something to that. Something Willem has just said, which is very true in Climate KIC as well, which is that universities can move at different speeds according to how much autonomy they've got. And it's been an evolution of developing the journey and using it with existing masters, and now moving forward to our own special KIC masters in innovation. And that we will pilot with some universities that find it easier to initiate. And I'm pleased to say my own is one of those, so it makes it quite easy. The other thing to say is that you asked us about selection, and there's academic selection, but we find you have to really, we interview applicants because you have to find out if they've really got the right potential, because you can't make an entrepreneur out of everybody. And I think there are 3 key ingredients to developing entrepreneurs. One is you have to give them the basic facts. They have to have the knowledge. It doesn't matter how good they are as an entrepreneur, they won't succeed unless they really know their stuff. But the second is they have to at least have entrepreneurial DNA, even if it hasn't actually been expressed. And then the third thing, which is what we do, is we give them the environment, the learning by doing, so that they can actually get the confidence to express their DNA and become an entrepreneur. So selection is extremely important.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple of minutes left. Is there a question there in the back, please?
Hello, my name is Nevena. I represent the European Students' Union. First of all, I want to thank you for a very good work that you're doing, and I also think that it's student-centered learning in practice, quite a lesson for all of us that deal with advocating for it. But what my question is how do you plan to widen the access? Because You already said that you already have a bit of a problem of recognition Europe-wide of the programs that you do and of the whole system that you are kind of trying to integrate into the already known and maybe a bit boring system of higher education. So do you plan to widen access in a sense of maybe producing some grants for students and promoting in that way? And also I'm quite interested, how would you describe yourself different than Erasmus, for example? If a student would stand in front of the Erasmus program and your program, how would you persuade a student to actually go to your program instead? Thank you.
Yes, there's always the but thanks for the nice words. Widening the program it's a matter of giving grants. I do not always agree, to be honest, but I can say that we do provide scholarships, and we also, in certain cases, give waivers for the tuition fee in order to make it accessible to everybody. As far as widening, I mean, it's about positioning yourself in the market. So it's about recognition. It's about going out, advertising it, telling students. Of course, use the first generation of students to tell to their fellow students why is this great, and so on and so. What's the difference with Erasmus? In our case, the difference with Erasmus is that, okay, Erasmus, you have an exchange and you go to 2 universities, you get a double diploma. That's what you get with us as well, but you get a guaranteed internship with one of our industrial partners, which are the top-ranked partners. That is not always easy to get in. Second thing is that you will get the E&I modules, which is 25% of your program will be not the traditional courses, but really tailored to entrepreneurship and in education. And on top of that, we will support you with a lot of mobility and a personal coach. And those are typically not the things you get in Erasmus. So we think we have a package that is really of more value than Erasmus. But of course, Erasmus setting could act as, in our case, the carrier where we put our Catalyst tools on top of.
Just to add to that, I think, I mean, the brand isn't well known yet, but that's because it's very new. And obviously in the first years with the master's courses, I think we were mainly relying on the brand of the universities that were running them. But actually, it is word of mouth. And if you have happy students from previous years, that's the best advertisement you can have. And I don't have the numbers because we haven't finalized them yet, but I know the applications this year are much higher than last year. And when you talk to the applicants, they say that, you know, they had heard that it was really good. They talked to someone who'd been on the program the year before. So I think this is because we're very new, and success breeds success. So I'm optimistic about future years.
Yes, in our case, we do give scholarships because we have to build the brand, as Mary and Willem said. Of course, over time, those scholarships will be reducing. It will be the brand that will attract the best ones. Last year, we spent 1.6 million euros of our own shareholders' money, so no AT money, our own shareholders' money, just to prime the pump and to bring those 155 students. So we do believe in the model, because it was our money. About Erasmus, we have in the master school, we have specialization and tracks, and one of them is called Select. And Select is building also on Erasmus Mundus. So we have an intake that then in the second year, it's KIC Energy follow-up. So the Erasmus Mundus of students of the first year, they have finalize the second year with this entrepreneurship, learning on the job, and being in the industry for the second year. So again, we are part of an ecosystem that we have to adapt, interact, interface, and get the best for, in this case, the customer, that is the graduate.
Okay, thank you. I would like to thank the audience for their active participation, and thank Diego, Mary, and Wim for sharing their experience with us. It's time for lunch. We're back here 2:15.